Welcome to the Night Library. Tonight we'll be reading Chapter 6 and 7 of Funhouse. Chapter 6. I delivered my little note to Tess. I hope it shakes her up a lot. Serve her right. She doesn't even know why. No one does. No one knows what I found in the attic. I'll tell them when I'm good and ready. The little red book held secrets. I kept reading that hot, sticky day a few weeks ago, before the air had turned cool and crisp. After Tully O'Hare went to the bank to get a loan from his friend Buddy, Lilla O'Hare wrote, "I can't believe it. Buddy turned us down. He and Tully have been friends since grade school. Now Tully is drowning and Buddy won't throw him a rope. Why not? What are we going to do now?" Bad Buddy the banker. Who was he? If there was a banker in town named Buddy, I'd never heard of him. Maybe he'd dumped the nickname. Maybe he dumped the bank. The journal was dated a long time ago, years ago. Things could have changed in that time. The next entry explained the one before it. We found out why Buddy turned us down at the bank. He and a bunch of his friends want the boardwalk as an investment. They say they have the funds to turn it into a huge money-making proposition. And we don't. But it's ours. It's all we have. They can't take it from us, can they? Why was I so sure that the answer to that question was yes? They can. Maybe from watching my father make so many deals over the years. He had the money and the power, and he always won. I was right, because the next entry read, "It's gone. The boardwalk. Buddy and his friends now own it. Tully is devastated, so am I. What will happen to us now? How will we take care of our baby when it gets here?" The next few pages were blank. Chapter 7. The blood in Tess's veins turned to sleet as she read and then reread the note's purple words. Who would be next? What did that mean? Next as in after dating Cherie and Joey, as in look what happened to them? Cherie's ruined face swam before Tess's eyes. Then Dade's lifeless body did the same, and Joey's leg. Her knees, which had been threatening all evening to buckle, did so now. Her body slid down the cabinet until it collided gently with the floor. She still held the note in her hands, clenching so tightly her knuckles were blue white. Unable to stop herself, she glanced down at the little square of paper again. The purple letters hadn't rearranged themselves into a friendly message. The words still conveyed the same ugly, threatening meaning. Her mind, fogged by shock and exhaustion, fought to make sense of it. Was this a joke? Who did she know with such a bizarre sense of humour? And if it wasn't a joke, then what was it? She read it one more time. The meaning... How could the meaning be mistaken? Wasn't it proof that what had happened tonight at the boardwalk was no accident? Or could someone with a twisted sense of humour simply be using the crash to scare her? Hinting that something else, equally horrible, might be in the works just to tease her? No. That would be too cruel. No one she knew had such a sick sense of humour. Okay then. How about someone she didn't know? Was that possible? There were people like that, weren't there? People who thrived on tragedy and horror and used it for their own benefit? Like people who read about kidnappings, then send a fake ransom note to the parents. Couldn't the person who had written this poem be someone like that? Tess stood up. She kept her eyes away from the blackness of the doors and the French doors. The person who had written the poem could be watching her. His or her sick, horrid eyes could, at this very instant, be fixed on her building. She shouldn't stay here tonight, Tess thought nervously. Her father's big, very solid, well-protected house beckoned. She'd be safe there. Miserable, especially if her father was home. He'd start right in on her about Sally for sure, but at least she'd be safe. Or she could call Sam. He'd come and stay with her, but she was so rattled by the accident and now the note that she'd probably throw herself into his arms, and that would be a major mistake. With shaking fingers, she dialed her father's telephone number. She let it ring 8 or 9 times. No answer. Why wasn't Guy Joe home? He couldn't still be at the boardwalk. Maybe Trudy had talked him into giving her a ride home. If she had, who knew what time Guy Joe would finally call it at night? Trudy didn't have a curfew. Her parents were very busy socially and seldom home, so Trudy saw no need to be either. If I had to spend the night alone, Tess decided, I'd rather spend it here in my own house, surrounded by my own things. Besides, she told the grandfather clock as she passed it, that stupid note was probably a joke, a bad one, but still a joke. Locking all the doors and windows was the first step. Then, feeling just a tiny bit silly, but willing to take no chances, she pushed the heavy oval table in front of the French doors. That done, she thought about calling Gina to read her the note, but decided against it. It was too late. Why wake up the whole Gambone family? Especially since Gina would probably just confirm what Tess had already decided, that the note was a rotten joke. But when Tess left the kitchen, she didn't turn off the light. The note still in her hand, she made her way through the spacious condo, flipping on light switches as she went. All of the rooms were large and airy, decorated by Shelley in French country style. The walls painted a soft grey blue or wallpapered in tiny floral prints. The furniture was comfortably cushioned in blue and rose plaid. Shelley had added wicker baskets, hanging plants at the windows, and abundance of white floor-to-ceiling bookcases. This home was prettier, warmer, and cozier than the Landers mansion. But as Tess passed from kitchen to dining room to wide-open French-doored living room, she suddenly found herself wondering how she would defend herself if someone broke into the house. She'd never had such thoughts before. They made her skin feel as if something ugly were crawling on it. Picking out a heavy brass poker from the set beside the white brick fireplace, she settled, still fully dressed, on the roomy couch, covering her legs with a quilted throw. She turned on the television set for company, positioned the poker at her side. She wouldn't sleep. She couldn't. She'd stay alert tonight and sleep during the day. People didn't break into houses in broad daylight, did they? But the horror of the night had exhausted her, and the need for sleep won out over her resolve. When she finally gave in and closed her eyes, every light in the house was still blazing brightly.